Welcome back to the channel. I recently started making what we'd call river charcuterie type of boards. Those are boards that look like this, where you have a couple pieces of wood put together with a epoxy inlay in between them. It's not actually an epoxy inlay, it's actually a full epoxy, as you can see. This is actually the first one I made. I've been making multicolor epoxy inlays for years, but I thought I wanted to try this and finally got around to it. I got myself a mold from Crafted Elements, and I used that. I'll show you that mold in just a second. So that was my first board. I'm really happy with how it looked, and I'll try to show a picture. I don't think photos ever showed justice to these things. So that was my first board. That one is actually a donation to the San Diego Fine Woodworkers Association for their holiday gift sale that will be taking place in November of this year, November 22nd through the 23rd. It's a way for us raising funds to support the shop. The other one that I just made, and I'm still in the process, is this one here, and you can see this one's a little different. This one has the wood in the middle, and then it has the epoxy around it. Really happy with how it's turning out, but this is the top, but I want to step up my game a little bit on this by doing some polishing on it like Shane does. And so I need to go purchase a polisher, so this won't be finished until I actually get my polisher later this week. So I need to still polish this one, but I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And one of the things I discovered while making this board was I was making a mess in my shop. It was throwing resin all over the place in here. Now, I have a dust collection over on the CNC where I surfaced it. It did fine, and usually my table saw seems to do a better job. And I noticed that my table saw wasn't sucking it up. You'll see this in the video, and I'll describe it. And the bottom line for that was I discovered that it wasn't my dust collection for my saw had gotten all plugged up, and I hadn't realized it, and I had to go clean out the hose. So I want to show you what that looked like, then I'll show you where I cleaned out my hose, and just give you a heads up that if you haven't checked your dust collector hoses in a while inside of your actual saw, you may want to go take a check and see if things are building up in there that you're not aware of. I know I should have done that before, but I didn't, and then I had a big mess. Nothing serious, but then I had to do some troubleshooting. So with that, that's what this video is going to be about. At this point in the video, I'm setting up to get a straight edge because when you mold it, the edges bow out a little bit. So I'm setting up for a straight edge on my board, and I'm using my tapering jig that I previously made, or a straight line jig, however you want to set it up. So I'm going to ride it down along the track there, steady it and push it through. And this is when I first noticed the epoxy starting to fly out. Take a look right here. And so you can see how I'm just shaving off a thin edge there. That gives me one nice straight edge. The next step then, of course you see me stalling for a second because I'm staring at that epoxy trying to figure out where that all come from. And let's just move forward. So once you have a nice straight edge, you can take the board and actually place it against the fence and make a nice parallel straight edge. And that's what I'm doing here, and I'll notice more epoxy. I'm just setting up for it at this point in the video. At this point, I decided I would clean up the mess that was being thrown all over the place and go ahead and put on the overhead dust collection, which usually does a much better idea of sucking things up. I'm also looking down there in the suction section saying it doesn't look like it's sucking as well as it should. But let's give this a try, and as you can see, We are collecting more of the resin, but we still have quite a bit down, so it's not actually going down and being sucked through the saw as I expected it to. And so in a little while you'll see why that occurred. The first thing I did when I noticed the resin all over the place was start looking around to see if there was any airflow. And I looked down in here, and you can't see it now, but it was just full of stuff. And so that became obvious that there was a potential problem. And then I started feeling into this area here, right where the blade throws all the stuff, to see if I could see any suction. And I couldn't feel any suction at all, and I knew I should feel something. So then I started investigating a little bit to see what the heck was going on, because I just wasn't getting the suction I had gotten earlier, and I knew that there should be some. So there's my dust collection hose. It comes down from my dust collector, which is a 3 horsepower dust collector, which is pretty strong. And I saw it jumping around, and I pulled off that area right up there, and there was lots of suction. So I knew there was suction over to this hose. So I wasn't sure what was going on yet. Next thing I did was move down to the SawStop itself inside to see what I could find. Inside my saw, there is this hose that goes up to that shroud area that we were talking about. And I always hate taking hoses or anything else off inside of things because everything's so tight. But there is a hose clamp right here, I think. So I'm going to point to the hose clamp. I got a background noise, so I just audio over here. And I pulled that hose clamp out right there, the one you're looking at that I'm pointing at and the red lines to. After I got the hose clamp off, this is what I found. It was totally clogged with all of this debris. And behind this debris was some walnut and some chips of slivers of wood. It had built up over time, and that's what you're seeing me pulling this out. And then the next step I do is, once I realize all that's in there, I use my Festool compact dust collector, and I start sucking out the hose and getting all the debris out of there and pushing it down like you would a plumbing snake. And that worked really well to get everything clean. And then I turned on the dust collector and checked it out, which is what you'll see next. Okay, now that I've plumbed out this thing, I've got all kinds of suction. Let's see how well my vacuum's working in the future. That's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to share with you an experience that I had where I had not been paying attention to the maintenance of my sawdust collection, and over time it had built up. And I don't know whether there were times when I had left the suction valve closed, and so I was running the saw without vacuum when I thought I was, but in any event it built up. So if you start seeing lots of throwing of sawdust or resin or whatever it is you're using your saw with, you might want to check that dust collection to see how well it's actually working. I know mine got clogged. It surprised me. It was easy to clean up, but just thought because it happened to me, maybe it would be worth sharing and help someone else out to just do a quick check of their dust collection for their saw or other items where they have hoses running to them. I hope this is beneficial to some, and thought I'd just share my experience because I enjoy when others share their experience. Hope you're having a great day. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it. If you have any comments or experiences you'd like to share with others, please put those in the comment section. And I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and hope you're having a great day and a great life. And till we meet again.